Okay, President Trump is in the UK. He is on an official state visit this week. He and First Lady Melania Trump will visit with royal family members today, and they will meet with outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May. They're also going to attend ceremonies marking the 75th anniversary of World War II, the Allies' D-Day invasion. Richard Cockett, Britain business editor, The Economist, joins us from London right now. How is the president's visit being received broadly? We hear some of the negative news headlines in the UK, but I've got to imagine there are quite a few people in your shores who welcome our president.
Well, this is an official state visit, so he's going to get all the pomp and circumstance which is available to the British state, which means that although there will be protests, they will be kept well back, and you won't see many of them impinging on his visit like happened last year. When he came over. So, and he's getting a good reception from the British government as well. And they make it quite clear that, this is a state visit. So it's state to state. This is not a political trip like the last one could have been interpreted as. Having said that, there are protesters here. There's going to be a huge rally tomorrow against Trump. Several senior opposition politicians are boycotting events that Trump's going to be at. So, there's still a measure of opposition, certainly.
Well, and President Trump himself, even though it's not technically a political visit, he has made political comments, right? He has made some favorable comments about Boris Johnson. He's made some comments about Brexit, both in the past and currently as well. Are the likes of Boris Johnson and some of his opponents sort of seizing on this visit?
You're absolutely right. Trump's obviously not a man to
mince words,
to mince words, or to keep his comments to himself. So he's been blazing away about he's insulted the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, this morning, even before he touched down. He's recommended Nigel Farage, head of the Brexit party, that he should lead Britain's next negotiations with the EU. He's backed Boris Trump. So he's basically been kind of meddling everywhere he can. None of this will be too welcome to people like Boris Johnson, because they regard Johnson. A lot of people regard Johnson as having the same failings as President Trump. These are two people who tend to sort of shoot from the hip, who tend to sort of take extreme actions and extreme stances, etc. So I don't think Johnson will be too happy to be so closely associated with Trump, especially now that the leadership race to succeed Theresa May is on. Farage will love it because he likes all the publicity he can get. So it varies from person to person. But also, I think we're more used to it now. I mean, last time when he came over and started doing this, everyone was taken aback. No American president had ever done this before. Now we expect nothing less.
Richard, Boris Johnson potentially as Prime Minister, help U.S. investors understand what would that mean to markets over there in the UK economy?
Well, the main point about Boris Johnson is that he's a hardcore Brexiteer. So he's quite clear that if he becomes Prime Minister, no deal is very much on the table. And he would take it quite literally that no deal is better than a bad deal. So investors, if Boris Johnson does become Prime Minister, and at the moment, he's very much the odds-on favourite within the Conservative Party. Only Conservative Party members take part in this election, and they are overwhelmingly Brexiteers. So if he does win, I think the chances of having a no deal escalate considerably, and that is, after all, the main point of Boris Johnson, that he's going to really use the threat of a no deal to try and get more concessions out of the EU. The EU have already said that the treaty they negotiated, Mrs. May, is the treaty. So you're on course for a nice collision.
On that note, Richard Cockett, Britain business editor for The Economist, thank you for joining us on The Move.